सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्. We will read the Dhyana shlokas which you have already seen. I will chant, you can repeat. ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे पुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयः प्रदीपः प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः. सर्वोपनिषदो गावः दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्सः सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत्. वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनम् देवकी परमानन्दम् कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्. We are seeing Dhyana shlokas of Bhagavad Gita. The verses of meditation on Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavad Gita related people, entities. The first shloka was a description, prayerful, respectful description of Bhagavad Gita. Then salutation was offered to Vedavyasa, who has compiled Bhagavad Gita. And then salutations are offered to the Lord Krishna. And in the last shloka we saw Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanura Mardanam. Krishnam Vande. I salute to Lord Krishna, who is Devam, the Lord Vishnu, who has incarnated as Vasudeva Sutam, the son of Vasudeva. And we have seen that when Bhagavan takes incarnation, then Mainly there are two things. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam. And thereby dharma sanstapana. Establishing the dharma is the main mission. For that is two activities he has to do. Paritranaya sadhunam, protection of right people, and vinashaya cha dushkritam, destroying wrong people. And destroying wrong people, vinashaya cha dushkritam, that avatara karya, the mission of avatara is given here, Kamsa Chanura Mardanam. He destroyed Kamsa and Chanura who were spreading or strengthening adharma and harassing the people who were following dharma. And therefore Mardanam. Devaki Paramanandam. He was a great source of joy for his mother and all. To that Krishna who is Jagat Gurum, the teacher of the whole world. What is the meaning of the teacher of the whole world? He has taught Bhagavad Gita, which is relevant to the entire world. Not for Indians, not for only Brahmanas or Kshatriyas or Vaishyas or Shudras, not for only young people, old people also. For every person this Bhagavad Gita is valid. And thus, by teaching Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan has taught the whole world. Therefore, he is called Jagat Guru. The Guru means the teacher of entire world through Bhagavad Gita. Now, in the next shloka, which we are going to see, Bhagavan is presented as Anatha Bandhu. He is the one who helps. Bandhu means a friend, helper, one who helps. Anatha, who do not have any other support. So he is helping who are helpless. So that idea is highlighted in the next shloka. Bhishmadrona tata jayadratha jala Gandhara Nilotpala Shalyagrahavati Krupena Vahani Karnena Velakula Ashwathama Vikarna Ghora Makara Duryodhana Vartini Sotirna Khalu Pandavai Rananadi Kaivartaka Keshavaha. In this shloka, it is said, Pandavas, who were having very limited resources, still they could win the war because they had Bhagavan Sri Krishna on his side. And why was Bhagavan Sri Krishna on their side, Pandava's side? One reason is Pandavas had chosen Krishna to be on their side. Duryodhana and Arjuna, both of them went to Sri Krishna for help because both of them are going to start the war. Therefore, both of them wanted the help from Krishna. And Krishna pretended to sleep. And first Duryodhana came. And he thought that I am the king. So how can I sit at the feet of the Lord? So he sit near the head of the Bhagavan. Arjuna came later. And he thought this is appropriate place to sit at the feet of the Lord. And therefore, when Bhagavan opened his eyes, first he saw Arjuna and asked, Arjuna, when did you come? Duryodhana said, I also have come. So Bhagavan said, okay, you also have come. Then Bhagavan, both of them said, we want your help for this war which is going to happen. And Bhagavan said, Arjuna, I saw you first, therefore you ask, what do you want? You have two options. One side, I will be there alone, who am not going to fight. I will not hold any weapon. I will not use any weapon during this war and just be there alone. That is one option. Other side is my whole army. You can choose me alone or you can choose my army. Duryodhana thought that see, Arjuna is given first chance and natural choice will be what? Army only. Because in the war, army is useful. One single person not doing any job is a burden because he will be eating also. So he is a burden, liability. If you don't become asset, you become liability. So Duryodhana thought that by God, Arjuna is given such a very weird choice. So Arjuna will choose army only. But Arjuna chose Bhagavan. He said, I want you. Bhagavan said, are you sure? I am not going to fight. I am just going to be there. He said, yes. If you are there with me, I don't need anything. Duryodhana also was happy. Natural second thing was Duryodhana got the army and he got Bhagavan. So you have to choose Bhagavan in your life. You have to make a conscious choice that I want to bring Ishvara in my life. Bring Ishvara in one's life means being aware of the presence of Ishvara in one's life. And that is why Bhagavan was on their side. That is one reason. Why Bhagavan was on the side of Pandavas? Because Pandavas chose Bhagavan to be on their side. Second reason is Bhagavan was on their side because on the side of Dharma, on the side of Pandavas, there was Dharma. Pandavas was following Dharma. And where Dharma is, there Bhagavan is. And therefore, Bhagavan chose to be on the side of Pandavas. And even though Pandavas were less resourceful, because they were not ruling party was Kauravas. And in every election, ruling party has got advantage. Because they can use the government machinery. So they are in advantageous position. So Kauravas were having the kingdom, Pandavas did not have. Very less support. In fact, they had only 7 Akshohini, 7 battalions. And Kauravas had 11. So 11 plus 7. So in Mahabharata, everything 18 is there. 18 Parvas are 18 chapters, 18 Akshohini. So 11 battalions were there on the Kauravas side. This way were only 7. Still, they won the war. Why? Kaivartakah Keshavaha. Because Keshavaha, Bhagavan Sri Krishna, who had destroyed these Keshi, etc., Asuras, his Keshava, was Kaivartakaha, was a boatman. And to convey this idea, where Bhagavan is, there is victory. This war is compared to a river. Rana Nadi. Rana means battle. Nadi means a river. This river of battle, Uttirna. Uttirna means crossed over. One. Pandavaihi, by Pandavas. Khalu, indeed. This river of battle was crossed over, won by Pandavas. How come? Kaivartakah Keshavaha. Because Pandavas used a boat for which Krishna was a boatsman. A boatman was Krishna. Since Krishna was a boatman, therefore they could cross over very terrific river of battle of Mahabharata. And in the first 3 lines, the description of that river of battle is given. That how difficult it was for Pandavas to cross over that river. Still they could cross over that river because Bhagavan was there as their help. And the description of the Rana Nadi, the river of battle of Mahabharata is given. Bhishma Drona Tata. Bhishma Pitamaha and Dronacharya were the Tata means banks. Means they cannot get out of this hold of these the Bhishma Pitamaha and Dronacharya. They were Tata, the Rana Nadi having the banks of Bhishma and Drona. Means they cannot escape. Tata is indicating they cannot escape. Bhishma Pitamaha was having one Ichha Mrityu. Ichha Mrityu means he will die only when he wishes. Therefore you cannot kill him. If he doesn't wish to die, he cannot kill. And he was a great warrior. He was so powerful that even his guru could not defeat Parshurama. So powerful he was. And he had learnt archery from great archers, and therefore he was a great warrior. Very, very difficult to win this Bhishma Pitamaha. Dronacharya was the guru, and generally guru knows more than the Shishya. So Dronacharya also was there on the other side. Still they could win because of Krishna. Then Jayadratha Jala. This river of battle has got the water in the form of a king called Jayadratha, who was brother-in-law of Duryodhana. And Jayadratha's speciality was his father had done tapas and he had got the boon or the blessing from father that whoever makes the Jayadratha's head fall on the ground, that person will immediately die. So whoever makes Jayadratha's head fall on the ground, he will die. And therefore if somebody beheads Jayadratha, he himself will be killed. Such a great boon was there. So he is a Jala, water, which has to be handled. Gandhara Nilotpala. Gandhara means Shakuni, Duryodhana's maternal uncle, very manipulative person, and therefore he can do any type of manipulation and can trap these Pandavas. They were like Nilotpala, blue lotus, which were very confusing and creating the problems for Pandavas. So very entangling the lotus. Because person will see the lotus and then person get lost. So similarly Gandhara, Shakuni was having that capacity to create the deception in such a way that Pandavas get carried away and they lose. And that was also the strength of Kauravas. So all these words are describing in what all manner Kauravas were having the advantage. And that's why Pandava having disadvantage. Still they won. Then Shalya Grahavati. The river was endowed with the Graha, shark of Shalya, who was a great warrior. And he is the uncle of even Pandavas. That Shalya. He was like a shark in the river. Big river. We have to imagine big river. And Krupena Vahani. The current of the water was Krupacharya, who is also a great teacher of archery. And Karnena Velakula. Velakula means high waves, breakers. So Karna was like breakers in the big body of water. In the breakers, people are broken, and therefore the Pandavas had lot of difficulties from Karna. And Karna has got one special weapon, which is infallible. Indra had given one weapon that on whomsoever you want to use, you can use it effectively. So he can use on Arjuna, main batsman of Pandavas team. And these Pandavas will lose. So such powerful Karna, and also he had learnt Vidya from Parshurama. And therefore he was very powerful warrior. Ashwathama Vikarna Ghora Makara. Ashwathama and Vikarna, great warriors on Kaurava side, who were like terrible crocodile. And Duryodhana Vartini. Duryodhana was like this Vartini whirlpool. If person gets caught in the whirlpool, then he cannot come out. So all these factors were unfavorable to Pandavas to cross the river of battle. Still, Sa Uttirna, Sa Rananadi, that river of battle was crossed over by Pandavas because Krishna is there as a boatman. They use a proper boat of dharma for which Bhagavan Sri Krishna was the boatman. So in life you choose right driver, right guide, right mentor. Then even you have some disadvantages in terms of resources, no problem. This deficiency of resource can be made up if you have a right guide. So Bhagavan Sri Krishna was there as their help, as their mentor, their guide, and therefore they could cross over this Rananadi. And if we analyze the Mahabharata's, this war, where different great warriors of Kauravas died, if we analyze, great warriors died because of the advice of Krishna only. Bhishma Pitama died because of the advice given by Krishna. Karna died because of the advice of Krishna. Even Duryodhana died because of advice of Krishna. Jayadratha died, Krishna's advice. So Krishna's tilted the balance, even though this Kaurava's side was heavy, tilting down, but just because Krishna was there, so balance was reversed. And that is why Bhagavan Sri Krishna is Artatrana Parayanaha. One title is given for Bhagavan. Bhagavan is Parayana, committed to the protection of people, the bhaktas in distress. That idea was mentioned. So Krishna is great because he protects the people who are following dharma. So that Shraddha is there in our heart, then we will be able to stick to dharma. People would like to follow dharma, but they are afraid of consequences of following dharma. Because initially when you are following dharma, you will have some problems. Immediately you have to suffer some difficulties. And generally people don't like to suffer these difficulties. And therefore they drop dharma and start following adharma. Because adharma immediately gives benefit. When I tell a lie, I am saved from some punishment or I get some benefit. Therefore, adharma becomes very convenient. Dharma becomes difficult. But if you have Shraddha in Bhagavan, that Bhagavan will be there when I am following dharma, then I will stick to dharma even though some difficulties are there in initial stage. Alright. Now, in the next shloka, prayer is made to the text called Mahabharata. In our tradition, everything is looked upon as manifestation of Ishvara. So everything is looked upon with respect. So Mahabharata text, even though it is inert, but it is looked upon as this Vibhuti of Ishvara. And this Mahabharata, which is a glory of Ishvara, is prayed to by the author Madhusudana Saraswati in the next shloka. Parasharyavachas sarojamamalam Geetartha gandhotkatam Nanakyanaka kesaram harikatha Sambodhana bodhitam Loke sajjana shatpadairaharaha Pepiyamanam muda Bhuyad bharata pankajam kalimala Pradvamsi nashreyase So here the main sentence of the shloka is Bharata pankajam naha shreyase bhuyat. Here, Bharata refers to Mahabharata. We have seen this meaning of the word Mahabharata. Simple meaning is Bharata means the narration of the lives of the descendants of Bharata. There was a great king called Bharata, and he had so many descendants, and they are called Bharata, and the story also is called Bharata. So Bharata is the stories of the lives of the descendants of Bharata, a great king called Bharata. And this story is very huge, Maha. So big, huge, vast. So vast stories of the children and grandchildren of Bharata is called Mahabharata. There are other derivation as well, but this is simple derivation. And by the way, this text is also called Jaya. Another name of this text is called Jaya. Jaya means victory. Narayanam namaskritya dharanchaiva daruttamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet. So the first shloka of Mahabharata is this. At least we know first shloka. So first shloka is this. And in there it says Jayam. So the name of this Mahabharata, another name of Mahabharata is Jaya. And this Mahabharata text called here Bharata is compared to a lotus. Bharataha eva pankajam Bharata pankajam. Lotus like Mahabharata text is called Bharata pankaja. Bhuyat, let it become. May the lotus like Mahabharata text Bhuyat become. Become what? Naha Shreyase. Be the means for well-being. Shreyas means finally means moksha. May Mahabharata become the means for our Shreyas, well-being. To begin with, relative well-being, and later on the ultimate well-being called moksha. So may Mahabharata become the means for relative well-being in the beginning and absolute well-being called moksha at the end. And this Mahabharata text is described by various words. What is that? Parasharyavachas saroja mamalam sarojam. This lotus of this Mahabharata is born. Where is it born? Lotus is born in Saraha, pond. What is the pond here? Vachaha, speech. Whose speech? Parasharya. Parasharasya putraha Parasharya. Vedavyasa. So the lotus of Mahabharata is born in the pond of the speech of Vedavyasa. Means this Mahabharata is coming from Vedavyasa. Simple meaning is that Mahabharata comes from Vedavyasa. Whose glory we have seen? Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhe. That great Vedavyasa, from him this Mahabharata has come. Is compiled by him. Amalam. Amalam is pure. And when we talk about the purity of the text, it is in the form of absence of impurity. And what type of impurities are possible in a text? Shabda Mala and Artha Mala. The impurity in terms of words, grammatical impurity, and Artha Mala means impurity in terms of the content. Shabda Mala means what? Those who know grammar, Rama Lakshmano Gacchati. If you say Rama Lakshmano should be said Gacchataha. If you say Gacchati, it is what? Shabda Malaha. Impurity. Grammatical it is wrong. So to write the text is not that easy. You have to follow the structure, you have to follow the grammar. And if it is not followed, then it is called Shabdamala. And other is called Shabdamala or Shabdadoshaha. And this Mahabharata is free from that, therefore it is called Amalam. Arthamalam is what? Content wise there is contradiction. Contradiction with itself or contradiction with Shruti. Suppose it says there are 4 paths for moksha. All of them are equally valid. All of them are direct means of moksha. Suppose they say, then there is a Arthamala. Because our Vedanta Siddhanta is Jnanena Mokshaha. And if somebody says, no, by karma also you can get moksha, you don't have to go for Jnana. If it is said in Mahabharata, then there will be Arthamala. And this Mahabharata is free from the Shabda dosha and Artha dosha, therefore it is called Amalam. So when we speak, when we are communicating, we try to make sure that Shabdamala is not there and Arthamala also is not there. If we think and speak, then your speech will come down. We speak more because we don't think, and therefore it is like a non-stop goes. But if you are very deliberate that when I speak, Shabda dosha should not be there, Artha dosha should not be there, and whatever considerations to be followed, I will follow and then only speak. Very little you will have to speak. So the Mahabharata is Amalam. And next one is what? Gitartha Gandhotkatam. Utkatam means it is rich. It is rich with Gandha, fragrance of Gitartha, the teaching of Bhagavad Gita. So Mahabharata, lotus, is rich with the fragrance of the teaching of Bhagavad Gita. Means Mahabharata has become great, fragrant because of the teaching of Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita occurs in Mahabharata and therefore Mahabharata has become fragrant by the teaching of Gita. Nana Kyanaka Kesaram. It has got these filaments, Kesara. Filaments. In the lotus there will be filaments, that the vertically it will be there. That is Nana Khyana. Many stories. In Mahabharata, there will be a main story, in that there will be a sub-story, in that sub-story again there will be sub-stories. So you have to always remember what is the main story. So main story will be there of Pandavas, and then Pandava will go to someone and that person will stay story, and in the story also there will be story. Nana Khyana. So various stories. By that, the Nana Khyana, the various stories are like the filaments of the lotus of Mahabharata. And Harikatha Sambodhana Abodhitam. This Mahabharata lotus is bloomed because of what? Sambodhana, narration, the teaching of Harikatha, the stories of the Lord. Mahabharata contains many stories related to Krishna. Very beautifully, Krishna's character is presented with so many stories. And because of that, the Mahabharata lotus is blooming. So Bhagavan's stories make the lotus of Mahabharata bloom. As if Bhagavan Sri Krishna is the sun. Like in the presence of the sun, the lotus blooms. Similarly, because of the stories of the Lord, this Mahabharata is bloomed. Okay. Then, Loke, in the world, Sajjana Shatpadehi Ahahaha Pepiya Manam Muda. The lotus of Mahabharata is Pepiya Manam, drunk. Lotus cannot be drunk. So lotus is drunk means the essence of lotus is drunk. And who can drink the essence of the flower? Only some honeybee can do that. See, lotus has got two aspects. One is a beauty aspect, other is a honey aspect. Beauty aspect anybody can enjoy. Similarly, this Mahabharata story aspect anybody can enjoy. But to get the essence, the message of Mahabharata, you require special eyes, special way of thinking. And that is there with these noble people. And therefore it is said, Loke, in the world, this Mahabharata is pepiyamanam. Mahabharata, lotus is pepiyamanam, means its honey is drunk. Aharahaha, every day. The honey of Mahabharata lotus is drunk every day. By whom? Shatpadaihi. By the honeybees. Honeybees, who are the honeybees? Sajjana. Sajjana means noble people who have got these who are exposed to the teaching of Shastra, and therefore they have got the proboscis of extracting the honey, the essential message from the lotus of Mahabharata. So by this Sajjana, noble learned people, this Mahabharata is drunk every day. Means the honey of Mahabharata is drunk every day. Means the essential message is received by them every day. Muda, happily. As I said, the lotus beauty aspect everybody can enjoy, but honey aspect everybody cannot get. Similarly, the story aspect Mahabharata everybody can have, but to extract the message, you require some proboscis of this honeybee, and that is there with the learned people. And therefore they are able to enjoy the message of Mahabharata. And they are enjoying Muda. They are drinking this Bharata, lotus, very happily. When you are able to derive the message from the stories appropriately, there is a joy. It's called Vidyananda. So Vidyananda they have. And therefore here it is said that Mahabharata lotus is drunk by learned noble people. And one more adjective, Kali Mala Pradvamsi. It is the destroyer of the impurity of Kali Yuga. Now what is the Yuga going on? Kali Yuga. And you know what is the meaning of Kali? Kali means a fight, quarrel. So it is a Yuga of quarrel. For small things people will fight. Oh, why you are sitting on my place and all. Keep on fighting. Puja Swamiji used to say ninja. Everybody, every jiva is like a ninja, all the time ready to fight. That fighter is there. Yeah, if you are on the border of the country and you have to save the country, please fight. It is your duty. But most of the time in our internal interactions, we don't require to fight. There are nobler ways to handle the situation. But what happens? We are used to fight only, and therefore we think that without fight I will not be able to do this. First find out whether there are softer ways of handling or not. But that doesn't happen. So Kali Yuga means the yuga in which there is a fight. Let's say Kalate, Spardate, Spardamana, Bhashante, Yasmin, iti Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga is that in which people will have very high competitive spirit and they keep on fighting. So what is the Mala of Kali Yuga? Mala of Kali Yuga is quarrelsome attitude. Born of Ragadvesha, materialism. That is Kali Mala. And that Kali Mala Pradvamsi. So Mahabharata, the study of Mahabharata destroys the impurity of Kali Yuga in the form of quarrelsome attitude. Therefore Mahabharata is called Kali Mala Pradvamsi. Here one interesting thing is, in India, people think that if Mahabharata book is read in your house, there will be a fight in your house. And therefore nobody wants to read Mahabharata. Even in one place in Bangalore it happened that one Swamiji started one satsang, and maybe after 1 or 2 classes he said, we will start Bhagavad Gita from the next class. And one group of some organization was coming, They were hosting the class. And that group must have told the head of the organization. So the head said, no, we should not have Bhagavad Gita class. Why? Bhagavad Gita is a part of Mahabharata. So if you are reading Bhagavad Gita, you are reading what? Mahabharata. And if you read Mahabharata in your house, fight will happen. Therefore you can have Bhaja Govinda. Some other text. She suggested or something, this Swamiji decided. So this is height of ignorance. Mahabharata doesn't create fight. And without Mahabharata also you are fighting. So as if like Mahabharata only if it is read, then only will fight. So Mahabharata, really speaking, does not promote fighting. In fact, if you read Mahabharata well, then you will have vairagyam towards any fight. They say in war, nobody wins really. In war, everybody is a loser only. Even though one party seems to win, but that win will not be a pleasant win. So much sacrifice, so much killing involved. Therefore, Mahabharata, in fact, Kalimala Pradvamsi. If you read Mahabharata, especially Vidura Niti, Sanasujatiya, Samvada, if you read that, your tendency to fight will go away. So Mahabharata does not promote war. Mahabharata removes war. So don't be afraid of Mahabharata. If you have time, please read Mahabharata. Start, at least first volume you bring and start reading. And if you can't read the very elaborate original one, our what is called Rajagopalacharya has written Mahabharata. In Tamil also there or only English? Okay. English it is there. Start reading. And especially if you have fear, you should read it. Because you should outgrow that superstition. And superstition you can outgrow by facing that situation. Let me see what happens. Nothing will happen. And Mahabharata does not promote war. In fact, it is Kalimala Pradvamsi. Destroyer of the impurity of Kali Yuga, which is materialism and fighting tendency. And Naha Shreyase Bhuyat. May this Mahabharata become the means for our well-being. If you read Mahabharata well, you will have more commitment for Dharma. And Yato Dharma Tato Jayaha. Where there is Dharma in your life, there will be victory. Finally, Dharma wins. Dharmo Rakshati Rakshataha. If you protect Dharma, you will be protected by Dharma. And therefore, the study of Mahabharata will bring Dharma, Ishvara in your life. And finally, you will be able to get the teaching of Bhagavad Gita, which will give you moksha. And therefore, we pray that may Mahabharata become the means for Shreyas, our well-being, relative and absolute. Now in the next shloka, the glory of Bhagavan's grace is described. Very popular shloka. Mukam karoti vachalam Pangum langhayate girim Yat krupa tavaham vande Paramananda madhavam. This shloka we learned in our childhood. This very popular. In our Sanskrit book also, initial text they will have this. Very popular shloka. And this shloka, essence is this. The grace of Ishvara makes impossible possible. What looks to be impossible, not really impossible. What appears to be impossible becomes possible by the grace of Ishvara. And that is described by citing some examples. That how the grace of Ishvara is making impossible looking thing possible. What is that? Mukam karoti vachalam. Krupa, grace. Grace of the Lord, karoti, makes. Muka, a dumb person, a person who is mute, who is not having the tongue, not able to speak, is called muka. And grace of the Lord makes that dumb person vachalam, eloquent. Not simply something. Vachalam means eloquent. He can speak very fluently. So Ishvara's grace makes mukam vachalam. It is possible. It has happened. You might have heard so many cases when somebody was having some difficulties in birth, but by grace of Ishvara, which sometimes manifests through some Mahatma, some great people, some saint, mukam vachalam karoti. And some acharyas read other way also. What? Vachalam mukam karoti. Means what? A person who is too much talkative and that person is made silent. Not that he will lose his speech, but he becomes so satisfied with oneself that he has become muka. Because generally our too much talkativeness is an expression of inner restlessness. When we are restless inside, our inner restlessness gets expressed in the form of talkativeness. We are not comfortable with ourselves. Therefore, we always need to talk. And nowadays what happens, it is made easy also. If nobody is around, you can call. In fact, I was told that sometimes just people call just like that. Because they have time and they are feeling bored, so they call somebody else. And that one the lady was telling, Swami, we can make out also that this person really doesn't have any job for calling. There is no purpose for calling except time pass. But they oblige each other because today I need, tomorrow you will need. So they oblige each other. It's okay. It's in a psychological relief. But we need to know that my pressure to talk shows I am not comfortable with myself. Therefore, in our tradition, people used to observe Maunam. On Ekadashi day, you observe Maunam. One day Maunam. Try. In the course, we used to have Maunam. But people used to violate also. So, to some people, it is very difficult. But very good. I prescribe you have Maunam for 1 week, but it is too high dosage. So, first start with lower dosage. Doctor start first 25 mg, then only 75. So, start. But one person says, Swamiji, whole day I cannot do. Okay. So, what you do is just have Maunam before 9 o'clock morning. How about that? In fact, here also I see people, immediately after this puja, people start talking. Generally, I used to suggest that before meditation, there should not be talk. After puja and all, just be with yourself. At least learn to be with yourself. So why should you start discussion in the morning? Not necessary. But pressure, that is vachalam, talkativeness. And when you have the grace of Bhagavan, then you discover inner joy, inner fulfillment so much that you don't have a need to talk. And therefore what? Mukam iva bhavati. So vachalam, mukam karoti. Both ways. That also is Bhagavan's grace. That your need to talk, your pressure to talk goes away. And you are happy with yourself. It is not that you are afraid of talking. You are not disturbed if you have to talk. That also is other extreme. Some people are like that. They always like to keep with themselves. And if somebody talks, they feel disturbed. That is also not correct. You don't have pressure to talk. At the same time, if it is required to talk, you can talk. And that is possible by the grace of Ishvara. So mukam vachalam karoti, vachalam mukam karoti. Ka kripa. Whose grace makes it possible. He is the Lord Paramananda Madhavam. So I salute to that Lord whose grace makes the dumb person an eloquent. Another expression of grace of Ishvara is Pangum Langhayate Girim. Pangu means a person who is lame, crippled, his legs are not working. Even that person, grace of Ishvara makes him climb. Langhayate means climb Girim mountain. Even a crippled person is able to climb the mountain by the grace of Ishvara. So Krupa Pangum Girim Langhayate. The grace of the Lord makes the crippled person climb the mountain. Possible. And whose Krupa, whose grace does this? Tam to that Lord. Who is he? Paramananda Madhavam. Madhavam is Krishna, Vishnu, both the meanings are there. Ma means Lakshmi, Radha. All these meanings are there. Prakriti, Maya. Dhava means husband, Swami. The master of Prakriti, the master of Lakshmi, the master of even Saraswati. He is called Madhava, refers to Krishna. And Krishna Avatara also, this Madhava name fits well because Madhoho Apatyam Madhavaha. There was a great king in the family of Bhagavan Sri Krishna, his ancestor. One of them was Madhu. Yadoho Apatyam. When Yadu was there, his son was Madhu. And Bhagavan was born in that family of Madhu. Therefore, he is called Madhava. So, by whose grace all impossible looking things become possible, that Bhagavan who is Madhava, Vande, I salute. And how is that Bhagavan? Paramananda. Paramananda means he is the greatest source of joy. So I salute to the Lord who is the master of Prakriti, master of Lakshmi, and who is the greatest Ananda, greatest source of Ananda. To that Bhagavan, Tam, to that Bhagavan, Aham Vande, I salute. Here we need to know about this word grace. What is this grace? Grace of Ishvara is not something which is randomly distributed. Generally people think that if Bhagavan feels like, he will shower the grace on me and my job will be done. So we think that Bhagavan has got his own likes and dislikes. So Bhagavan likes these people and therefore he will shower his grace on them, and to other people will not have the grace of the Lord. So one thing we need to know about grace is something to be earned from Ishvara. Grace is something to be earned. It is not randomly distributed by the Lord. It's not like lucky dip, that out of 1,000, 5 people have to get, and so my number came. It is not like that. So remember, grace of the Lord is not something randomly, whimsically distributed by the Lord. Grace is something to be earned. Alright. How do we earn grace of Ishvara? Pujya Swamiji used to say 2 ways. One is what? Prayers, and other is contributory activities. Be a contributor. Reaching out activities. So, first thing is prayers. Now, prayers will earn grace. So, generally people think, what is prayer? Prayer is, oh God, give me this, give me this, give me this. This is prayer, they think. This is not prayers according to our Vedic culture. Simply you say, Bhagwan, today you give me this laddu in the Bhiksha. So, Rasagulla, then Pakoda. So, that is not really considered to be prayer. You know what is prayer? Prayer means you can definitely ask for something, but you do some activity, prayerful activity prescribed in Shastra. So you chant Vishnu Sahasranama and then you tell Bhagavan that I have chanted Vishnu Sahasranama, please give me this. Or before chanting you say, for getting the Putra Labham, Dhana Labham, Laddu Labham, whatever, for that I am chanting Vishnu Sahasranama. So after requesting for something, you have to do some action prescribed in the Shastra. That is called prayer. People many times say, Swamiji, I very intensely prayed, oh God, give me, but he did not give. But he simply asked him. That is not considered prayer. So we need to know, because there is a popular belief that praying means very ardently simply ask Bhagavan. And that is not considered to be prayer in real sense of the term. So you do some puja, you do some parayanam, you do some mental japa, and then ask. Because as I told you before, prayer is to be earned. It's to be earned. And earned in this manner. So one is Kayika, Vachika, Manasa, Karma. Prescribed in the Shastra for earning grace. That you have to do. Kayika means physical, puja, etc. Vachika means parayanam. Manasa means some japa, upasana. Then you earn grace. See what happens, we are lazy people sometimes. We want to simply earn grace of Bhagavan without doing anything. Remember, Bhagavan will not violate his law of karma for your sake. We expect Bhagavan, you choda sa swalpa adjust madi. So Kuncham adjust panungo. So I like that. I don't know how it is said in Tamil. So little bit adjust you do. Adjustment. Bhagavan said no way. So remember, prayer means this. Prayer doesn't simply mean asking. I very ardently pray. It doesn't work. If you think, no Swamiji, I prayed and it worked, anyway it was to work because you had some karma. So prayer means some prayerful activities. Activities which is involving the karma prescribed in Shastra. And other one is, which will help you earn grace, is reaching out activities. You help someone. But Swamiji, I myself, living on charity. So how can I help? It doesn't matter. I know you have always shortage of money. So money you can't give. Doesn't matter. You have some time, give some time. You have some knowledge, share that. Share what you have. But Swamiji, I don't think I have anything. If you have the mind, you will discover you have so many things to share. First of all, what you need is the mind. I want to share. And you can pray to Bhagavan. Bhagavan, you show me the ways how I can share with the world. And I tell you, you will get it. Puja Swamiji in some context says, when you love the person, when you care for the person, you will find the ways to care for the person. When you care, you will find the ways to care. So you will find it. So reaching out, sharing, that karma, you can give money, you can give time, your knowledge, whatever. Even listening, patient listening to somebody's pain also is a contributory activities. Nowadays people have impatience so much. Nobody is ready to listen to anybody else. Everybody wants to talk only. Nobody wants to listen. Therefore people like Swamis, because Swamis patiently listen. Really speaking, we don't give much advice. People just come and they pour their problems and we say, yeah, it's very... So that's what we will do. And people say, Swamiji, I had nice satsang with you. I don't know whether I had satsang or he had satsang with me. I did not speak much. One, yes, okay. So that was only my contribution. But it's a very good satsang, Swamiji. Why? You need some patient, hearing. That also is seva. And in a way is a good exercise for you, because you are also in pressure of talking. Now you are deliberately say, no, I will do half an hour contributing activities. What? I will listen to somebody's pain. So these are the ways to earn grace. Prayers and reaching out activities. Now in the next class we will see that if my action itself is giving me the result, I do prayers, I do Kayika, Vachika, Manasa, Karma, or I do reaching out activity, then result is given. Then why should we call it grace? That part we'll see in the next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Gachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari